Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I just want to go through a little bit of what I do when I'm out on my hikes and my trails and my kayak trip in terms of recharging all my things. That is a research area, to say the least, for me, and I believe that a lot of other people has the same issue: how to recharge everything without bringing your whole home with you. As you can see here on the table, then there's a lot of different things that could be charged, which I bring along with me anyway, like telephone first and foremost. That is for emergency calls and whatnot. I've got my power bank, which is at 9,000 milliamp hour. You can see that in a different video, how I review that one. Anyway, that is my go-to kind of thing. We got my gimbal. I've got two of them actually. I got a variable gimbal and I got this one here. I've got two GoPro cameras, but I'm using one of them for filming this one here, so I can't show you. I've got my USB chargeable head torch, and those are the things that I normally need to charge if I'm out on my trips, and obviously that requires a lot of juice. Now, because of the fact that I always bring this one with me, then the trip has to be for more than a week almost before it gets very critical for me. It's not 100% true in terms of my GoPros, obviously. So to charge all this, then obviously it depends on situations. As you can see here, if I'm out on kayaking, then I use my kayak and the 35 watt solar panel I've got there, and I've got a box for it, and I've got a charge controller, and I can charge everything I have, including my 36,000 milliamp hour power bank, which is a huge one, and I really like that one, but that's not for hiking, that is not for trail running. It is only for these occasions where I do not need to carry everything on my back. But so goes the solar panel. As you can see, it's quite rigid, quite big. If indeed I am going out on trips like trail running and hiking, then the difference is different. Well, let's just start by the trail hiking things. When I'm doing hiking, then this one here has been my go-to solar panel. I don't want to review it today, but it's just to show you. It's relatively big, and I suppose it's about 2 pound heavy, and it has a 26 watt, and I can pull out 12 volt from it, and I got one 12 volt output, and I got a normal regular USB output. This one here, I will be using that on trails if I do not have to walk way too much, because it's just too heavy. But if I'm doing somewhere between 5-10 kilometers of hiking until I reach the campsite, then this one here is a really good one to have with me. But being in at a good 2 pound, I'd say I have to be at a camp where I got to do a lot of work, and not something I could save for later. I did back in the days invest in a smaller one, and I'm saying back in the days because this one here has got 5 volt output. And it's got 2 USB ports in here, so you probably can see if the light catches it. And though it does really serve all right, I can't remember how many watt it is, then I never used it. I gotta be honest, because the use of it compared to the size of it and the weight of it, it just didn't add up for me. So it just ended up being something that was too small in terms of effect, but too big in terms of weight and carrying around. I just didn't get the value out of it. So to the things that really matters, the little one I got here. This is, according to the specifications, I bought it on the internet. It's a generic piece of solar panel, 10 watt, and 5 volt. Now, what's really interesting, it has a maximum output of 2.1 amp, and I've tested it on my phone, and that is the primary use for this one is obviously for emergencies, that I can use it for my phone. And I have tested it, and depending on the sun, depending on the time of the day, depending on how I am letting this one out in the sun, the angles of the sun, then I'm charging my phone between 20 and 30% in one single hour, which is highly efficient. So in an emergency situation, obviously this is good. Now it will still be doing a bit of trickle charge if you do have overcast, but if it's really pouring down rain and dark, no, obviously nothing will be there. And that brings me to some of the ads that you can see, just for the sake of it. So you can see here I've been walking with the panel on my back just to see how much would it potentially charge my phone. And I had it set on fly mode so that it was not using any battery whatsoever, but it was turned on. And I walked for 2 hours with this connected to my solar panel, hanging on the backpack, as you can see. And in those 2 hours, my battery life reduced with 3%. So without knowing if it would have reduced to 4 or 5% in that very same period, it was very unscientific test, then I'll still say don't fall for the trick thinking that this one will be charging all your equipment while you're just walking on the trail. This is for something being out in the sun, specifically aimed at the sun, and you get the best value out of it. Now, to get back to the value out of it, there is another issue with solar panels, because solar energy is something that is getting more and more focused in these days, and they are increasing the effect out of the solar panels. But there is something that a lot of people don't know about it, and that is the maximum effect out of such a solar panel. Obviously, first off, when the producers or the sellers, they are claiming that it does so and so, then they're doing it under optimal conditions. But what is that? Most people, they would say, here in Thailand, where I live, we have got a lot of sun hours every year, and as such, solar panel must be a God's gift. Yet we don't see it in that many places, but there's a good reason for it. If we look apart from the fact that to actually power a house using solar energy would probably be rather expensive compared to what it would cost otherwise. But the second thing is, if you have a solar panel that has a maximum output of 2.1 amp, and it is at, in this case, 10 watt, then that is only under conditions that are optimum, and that also goes for temperature. So a solar panel, it does not work optimum if it goes below or go beyond something, a specific temperature. And I think the optimum temperature actually for this one is about 25 degrees. 25 degrees surface temperature on the solar panel, and you get maximum output of it by direct sunlight. But I'm living in a country where we in daytime has about 32 degrees Celsius in daytime, and this is shade temperature. So in the very moment I put this one out in the sunlight, I would obviously get a higher temperature on the surface than those 25 that is recommended to be the optimum temperature. And even in the hot season, we got up to about 40-41 degrees in the shade, meaning this one in the sun will reach somewhere between 50 and 60 degrees. And at that point, we're probably down to about 20-30% of its maximum capacity. So obviously, the smaller solar panel you choose, the less efficient it is. But you also got to take into calculation that the situation has to be optimum to get the max out of whatever it is described to give. But I like this one, and I'm using this one. I've got several of them, and I only got one single USB output, as you can see here, because it is for emergency. I can trickle charge, or can actually charge my power bank, 9,000 milliamp hour power bank. So it's not just for emergency. I can use it on extended weekend trips and stuff like that. And at 65 grams, it is very, very good. So guys, yeah, I just wanted to show you, because this one at 65 grams is so easy to have in your backpack and the trail running bag, and it really won't weigh in at a lot. You won't notice you have it, but it is there, and it is a lifesaver. So yeah, until next time, have a good one.